Greetings from Savvy Layman. At the time of writing the script, supply shortages continue, mining is still a thing, and demand from gamers is bigger than ever. Since many people are not willing to pay exorbitant prices for new GPUs, they turn to the secondhand market. However, I noticed gamers were often reluctant to buy a GPU that had a mining history. Is it therefore safe to buy a graphics card which comes from a mining rig? Let's find out. Consumer graphics cards are not designed to run 24/7 for months. On the other hand, their electronic components don't break easily either, provided the GPU was run within the manufacturer's specification. By the way, did you know mining could be less torturing for a GPU than gaming? Most gamers want to squeeze maximum performance from their graphics card to play their favorite AAA titles nice and smooth. The higher the FPS, the better, right? As for me, I don't care about the few extra watts in the heat of the gaming session either. Nevertheless, when speaking of miners, they do care about power draw. Sure, miners want to mine crypto coins fast, but they also like to keep their electric bill as low as possible in order to stay profitable. Let me then show you how miners tune their GPUs and how this life hack improves efficiency as well as temperature of the graphics card's vital components. Well, we should at least expect miners would do that. Mining, especially of Ethereum, has become extremely popular, and for that reason, you can sometimes meet rookie miners who may be mining at stock settings. As you will see shortly, this can cause trouble to certain high-end GPUs. For demonstration purposes, I'll be using NiceHash and their Excavator plugin. The same process applies to other third-party plugins such as NBMiner or T-Rex. We'll be looking at hash rate, overall efficiency, as well as temperature of the GPU silicon. At stock settings, my 3080 draws 340 watts of power while achieving 86 megahash per second hash rate, which results in the efficiency of about 255 kilohash per joule. GPU core temperature climbs over 63 degrees centigrade, which is completely fine, but the memory junction temperature reaches a scary value of 110 degrees centigrade. What on earth is going on here? For Ethereum mining, one does not only need a reasonably fast GPU core, but also fast video memory. That's why miners like to use a well-balanced combination of a powerful yet efficient GPU core with high bandwidth memory. And that's the reason why RTX 3060 Ti beats 3090 in mining efficiency. Speaking of RTX 3090, beware! Though its theoretical 120 megahash per second hash rate may sound like a dream come true, it is the worst card to purchase from the secondhand market in my opinion. Why is that? Because its fast GDDR6X memory chips are soldered to both sides of the PCB. Though there is a proper heatsink installed on one side of the PCB, there is just an aluminum shroud on the other side. Therefore, some memory chips that are installed are definitely going to overheat. The ultimate question for us, potential buyers, is can such temperature kill the graphics card? Micron, who is the sole manufacturer of GDDR6X memory chips, specifies their maximum operating temperature of 95 degrees centigrade or 105 degrees centigrade respectively. They do not explain which of the two maximum operating temperatures apply under what conditions though. I only assume the 95 degrees centigrade applies to junction temperature functionality and 105 degrees centigrade applies to junction temperature reliability. Long story short, running GDDR6X memory chips at 105 degrees centigrade or higher will most likely result in permanent damage over time. Fortunately for gamers, GDDR6X memory chips are only used in a handful of graphics cards as of today, namely RTX 3090, 3080, 3080 Ti, and 3070 Ti. Other popular modern GPUs use GDDR6 without the X. These chips do not run so hot, so as long as the manufacturer installs the thermal pads properly, I wouldn't worry about GDDR6 based cards too much. Of course, thermal pads do degrade over time and their heat transfer ability will eventually suffer and decrease, but it doesn't mean the cards will immediately start failing or whatever. Now let us observe Ethereum mining with optimized GPU settings. As you can see, I overclocked the video memory by another 1500 megabits per second, since high memory throughput is very beneficial for this type of workload. I also cranked up the fan speed to 2000 RPM to help with VRAM cooling, and I set the negative GPU core offset of 150 MHz because high clock speeds are virtually useless for Ethereum mining. Moreover, I reduced the power limit of the card to just 68%, which stands for 230 watts. As you can see, the hash rate increased by 16% to 100 megahash per second, and the overall efficiency increased by almost 70% to over 430 kilohash per joule. The figures would be even slightly higher if I had a dedicated GPU in the system to handle the video output, but you get the point. The GPU core temperature decreased to 48 degrees centigrade and GPU memory junction temperature now decreased to 94 degrees centigrade, which is within the safe bounds according to Micron specification. Do I then recommend buying a graphics card with mining history? Well, it really depends. I would personally try to avoid it if possible, especially for these GDDR6X based cards, but desperate times call for desperate measures. If you therefore do need to buy secondhand, let us at least mitigate the risk. First, choose a local seller whom you can ask to show you an operational GPU in their system. Ask the seller to perform a stress test. I admit Furmark is pretty abusive, but it will quickly tell you if the card is at the brink of death or not. Also, watch the temps of the GPU core to see if the card is not overheating too much. Second, if the seller makes a bad first impression on you, consider backing out. It is especially suspicious if the seller is pushing you to close the deal quickly. Third, avoid the cheapest AIB models if possible. For example, Gigabyte Eagle RTS 3060 Ti has a mediocre heatsink which makes the card run a bit hotter. That alone isn't a major problem as such, but the stock fan curve is very steep, so the fans immediately start spinning at 92%, which puts a strain on the bearings. One can adjust the fan curve for sure, but I cannot automatically expect the previous owner has done so. Fourth, speaking of fan bearings, listen for any strange noise. I've seen one of the fans of Radeon RX 580 fail catastrophically before. Fans can usually be replaced, but if the bearings are worn out, it's a clear indication the car has been running for a very long time. Fifth, look for any physical damage or even hardware mods. Does the color of the PCB vary at places? Well, maybe someone tampered with it, or perhaps the components ran extremely hot, or it's simply corroded. Sixth, is the heatsink full of dust? Though this is very easy to fix, it can also tell you how well the previous owner took care of the card. And last, seventh, I don't think the owner would let you disassemble the card before purchase, but if you can take it apart, you can check how dry the thermal paste as well as thermal pads are. If the paste is as hard as a rock, you know it hasn't been used just a few times to play Fortnite. See, my original intention was to demonstrate that graphics cards, which were previously used for mining, don't need to die within a week or so. Something tells me I was not extremely successful in doing so. As for me, I was lucky enough to buy my RTX 3080 inside a reasonable pre-built system. I purchased it from the secondhand market, so I had to do a bit of the research myself. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please hit that like button or even consider subscribing. Good luck with your GPU purchase and have a nice one.